And while we're on the topic of local impacts from the big, beautiful bill, there's more. The bill appears to have thrown a fresh setback at the Rose Quarter Improvement Project, the $2 billion plan to add more lanes to I-5 near the Moda Center and build a cover over the freeway. The bill includes a small section titled Rescission of Neighborhood Access and Equity Grant Program. That program was created by former President Biden's infrastructure law in 2022, offering federal funding for projects that address negative impacts of freeways in underserved communities. Lower Albina in Portland is a prime example. The historically black neighborhood was torn in half when I-5 was built in the 1960s. Well, last year, the Rose Quarter project got $450 million in grants from the Neighborhood Access and Equity Program, specifically for the freeway cover, which is intended to stitch the neighborhood back together. These kinds of grants are distributed one piece at a time through a process called obligation. So that line about rescinding unobligated balances means they will not give out funding that has not been delivered yet, despite being promised. ODOT says the Rose Quarter project has only had $37.5 million obligated so far, meaning the remaining 92% of the grant could be gone. But it's worth noting there is some uncertainty here because this is not the first time this grant has come under threat. In January, the Trump administration announced a pause on all Biden-era federal grants, but it wasn't clear if that included grants already awarded. ODOT finally got a clear answer in late March.
As of last week, we did get notice that because we have a signed grant agreement and because we have a portion of those funds already obligated, that we can continue to proceed in the obligation of the remaining phases of that grant. So that's big news to be able to keep moving forward. And I will say, hours after we got that notice, we put our obligation request in.
So as of 3 months ago, the administration was directly telling ODOT the Rose Quarter grant was safe. But the new bill and all of its beauty seems to contradict that. Local opponents of the Rose Quarter project are declaring it dead in the water after the loss of the federal grant and the spectacular failure of the state transportation package in the Oregon legislature. ODOT and some of Oregon's political leaders are less certain, saying they're seeking clarity from the Trump administration, but none of them sound happy. ODOT told us the bill appears to have eliminated the funding, but say they're committed to the project nonetheless. Senator Ron Wyden told us he's working to get answers from the administration about the Rose Quarter money. And Senator Jeff Merkley's office added that the bill's uncertainty could lead to court challenges, saying, quote, in past administrations, this funding would certainly have been considered secure. It is unprecedented to have grants awarded and then have grant rules changed that leave the status of awarded funds uncertain. So, where does this leave the project now? Well, it's not dead. In fact, construction starts next month. But as things currently stand, it's not going to get very far. The full project is expected to cost up to $2.1 billion. And it's only got about $860 million lined up, including the grant, which again appears to be up in the air at best. ODOT's plan is to split the project up into phases that can be built one at a time as funding allows. Phase 1A is first, using $65 million in existing state funding to upgrade stormwater infrastructure and renovate one I-5 overpass at the south end of the Rose Quarter. That's scheduled to start in late August and wrap up in late 2026. Next would be another aspect coined Phase 1. I know it's confusing, but different from Phase 1A. Phase 1 uses the grant funding to build the first 30% of the freeway cover, including widening the freeway below. That's scheduled for early 2027. But if the Trump administration does not give out the rest of that grant, it seems like Phase 1A is the only part that may be done. Some stormwater infrastructure and work on a single overpass. We'll be watching.